What's up, Yup Gang? It's your boy Taxon, and welcome back to the new and improved Yup TCG Things. As you guys may have heard, we're taking on two new games on the channel, one of them being One Piece and the other one being the up-and-coming Fusion World. With that being said, I hope you guys are ready for what we're going to be diving into going into this new year. Today we're actually going over the very first video that we're going to be making for One Piece, keeping it simple and sticking to the basics. We're going to be talking about the mechanics of One Piece. Things such as attack phases, countering phases, character skills, and so on and so forth. With that being said, guys, if you guys are ever interested in any custom cards, sleeves, or mats, definitely check out ProMats, guys. This is the best place to go get your custom card needs, and if you guys do decide to get a mat from them, make sure you use the promo code YUP to save on your entire order. With that being said, guys, if you guys enjoyed this discussion or my content in general, remember to hit those buttons for me, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's turn it around and talk about it.
The first thing you're probably wondering is, what is the One Piece card game? The One Piece card game is a 1v1 trading card game in which you're going to be battling against your opponent. Doing so with a deck constructed and centered around a leader card, you're going to be attacking consistently throughout the game and reducing your opponent's life to 0. The first thing that we're going to be going over, guys, is going to be overall deck construction and card types. Your main deck consists of 50 main deck cards, 1 leader card, and 10 Don cards. Going on to leader cards first, guys, we're going to talk about some of the skills found on these cards. Starting off with the bottom left-hand corner, this is going to be the color wheel. This is going to be the color of the card and as well dictate the colors that you can add into your deck. So far in the game, we are only maxed out at 2 colors per leader card, as well as the majority of them being the mono color. Moving on to the top right-hand corner, this is the power of the attack on the leader card. Of course, during battles in this game, the card with the higher power will win the battle. And then moving on, right next to that is the attribute skill. In this game, we are currently only at 5 total attributes. We have slash, strike, range, wisdom, and special. Going down below that, in the middle of the card is where the effect is found. Of course, we'll go over some of the effects later on in the video, as well as the category of the card type. Right above the name of that, and then right beside that, we see the life point total. Of course, this will vary based off the type of leader you got, as the one that we're looking at right now is telling us that we get to set 5 life at the start of the game. And then right below the name, we do have the type, as well as like the affiliation in which this character is with. And then next to that, we have the card number, the rarity, and of course, the block symbol. Moving on now to character cards, guys. Of course, character cards do not have too many differences from leader cards, but we will go over exactly everything on these cards now. Leader cards do start in play, so the very first thing that we notice on character cards is in the top left-hand corner, there is a cost. The cost is the required amount of Don that you have to pay in order to play this character into your character area. And then right below that, on the left side of the card, we do see the counter power. This is the power in which you're going to increase the power of your cards during the counter step of the battle. And then moving on from there, we have the power in the top right hand, and then right next to that we have the attribute. Of course, we still have the effect box right underneath the main spot of the art, as well as right underneath that we have a spot for the trigger effects, and then underneath that everything stays the same from the leader as well. So we'll have the card category, the card name, the card type, and then in the left corner of that as well will be the card color, and then on the right corner of the bottom will be the card number, card rarity, and of course the block symbol. And then moving on from that, guys, we're diving into the event cards of this game. Of course, these cards are mainly activated during your activate main timing as well as your counter timing. Starting in the top left-hand corner of these event cards, we have the cost, as well as the bottom left-hand is the color type of the card. The middle square box, of course, is normally where the effects are, as well as below that there's a spot for trigger effects, and then everything else retains the same from normal cards. We have the card category, the card name, the card type, the card color, a card number, rarity, and the block symbol. Moving on from there, we also have stage cards in this game. Of course, work kind of exactly like events, except for they have a special spot for them on the field in this game, and you can only place 1 at a time. Going into this card, we have the top left-hand corner is the cost. This is going to be, of course, the amount of Don that you have to pay in order to play this stage into your stage area. And then, of course, below the art is the effect area. Of course, these are going to be normally activate main effects. And then from there, we'll have our color wheel in the bottom left. We'll have the card category, the card name, and the card type right there in the middle. And in the bottom right will be the card number, the rarity, and the block symbol. And now we're moving into the Don cards of this game, guys. The Don is the resource system of this game. So in order to pay the top left-hand corner cost of your character, events, and or stage cards, you must rest these cards in your cost area in order to play these cards into your respective areas. As well as you see on the bottom of these Don cards, it says your turn plus 1000. You can use these cards to attach to your character cards to create even more powerful attacks. Now that we've talked about card types and of course your main deck construction, let's go ahead and talk about how to set up a game. In order to set up and start playing One Piece card game, the first thing you need to do is take your deck, shuffle it up, and place it in its designated area. Right after that, you're going to take your leader card and do the same thing, place it in its leader area. From there on, you guys are going to decide who goes first. Doing so by throwing yourself some rock, paper, scissors, and or the more preferred method, roll 2 d6s. The winner of this will be able to dictate whether they want to go first or second. Moving on from there, both players are going to draw 5 cards from the top of their deck. Once you do so, you can look at those 5 cards and then decide if you want to do a mulligan. The mulligan in this game is going to be all 5 cards from your hand to the deck, shuffle it up, and then redraw 5 and then set your life. And if you choose not to do so, you're just going to set your life from the top of the deck. After the mulligan phase, guys, we're going to be diving into the life set phase. Of course, we're going to take a look at our leader card's bottom right hand corner. This is going to dictate how many life we get to place into our life area from the top of the deck. Moving on from that, the player in which is going first is ready to start the game. Currently, there are 2 ways in order to win this game. The very first of which is going to be landing a final damage on your opponent's leader card after reducing their life to 0, and the other of which is going to be having your opponent's deck reach 0. Moving on now, we are officially ready to dive into the game's flow. Now this is going to be exactly 5 total phases in order to dictate how a turn plays out. And starting off with the refresh phase, this is going to be the very first phase of your turn in which you take all of the Don that you have active in play, put it back into your cost area, and then take all cards in play and switch them to active. This is your leader card, all your character cards, your stage card, and all of your Don cards. Moving on from that, we are now entering the draw phase. Right after you untap everything and place all your Don back into your Don or cost area, you are officially allowed to draw 1 card from the top of your deck. After the draw phase, guys, we are now moving into the Don phase. This is going to be where you take 2 cards from the top of your Don deck and place it into your Don area. Excluding the very first turn of the game, this will be only 1 Don. The reason for this is to make it so that each player's turn is only 1 Don ahead of each other. Moving on now, we are officially in the main phase of the game. This is where the bulk of the actions are going to take place. Of course, you can do as many things as play cards, play your stage cards, activate some event cards, activate card effects, as well as give Don to your character cards or leader cards to create bigger attacks. During this main phase, you can do any one of these actions as many times as you want and or can, as well as in any order that you decide to do so. After you've exhausted all of your resources during your main phase, you can now enter your end phase. This is going to be when you're passing turn to your opponent, and then you start the cycle all over again on your opponent's side of the field. Now let's talk about casting some of our cards. Starting off with our character cards, we're going to be looking at the top left-hand corner of the card. This is the card's cost. This is how many Don in your cost area that you have to switch to rest mode in order to play this card from your hand into your character area. When casting character cards, do note that you can only have a maximum of 5 of these characters in your character area at a time. If you have 5 characters already in play, you must choose one of those cards in order to place into your graveyard before placing your new character into your character area. Now we're moving into our stage cards. Stage cards work kind of exactly like character cards, whereas you pay the cost in the top left-hand corner and then they come into their own special area called the stage area. And now we are moving into event cards and how to activate them. Of course, guys, these event cards are a little different from our character and stage cards, whereas they do not have a respective area on the field. They are a one-time use skill only, so once you pay the cost dictated in the top left-hand corner of the card, it would go to the trash right away as you are getting that effect. Next up, let's talk about attaching Don. During the main phase of this game, you can choose some of your active Don and place them underneath one of your character and or leader cards. This, of course, will give them a 1000 power boost in order to make their attack more lethal and more powerful. In this game, there is currently no restriction on how many Don you can attach to one of your characters, so if you have all 10 Don active, of course you can use all 10 of those to give 10,000 extra power to one of your attackers. And from there, we are now diving into the flow of battle, starting off with attack declaration. In order to declare an attack, you must choose the card that you want to attack with, switch that card to rest mode, and then choose the card that you want to attack into. Do note, in this game, if you want to attack a character card, your character card that you're attacking into must be in rest mode in order for you to declare the attack. In this game, your leader card can be attacked whether it's in rest mode or active mode, it does not matter. During this phase, right away, this is going to be when attacking effects can take place. This will be the first thing that happens when you rest a card in order to declare an attack. Right after that, we're going to be moving into the blocker step. Of course, this blocker step is going to be when the defending opponent can use one of their cards that have the keyword skill blocker on it. This is where you can switch that card to rest mode and then redirect the oncoming attack to the card with the blocker skill. After that blocker step comes the counter step. Of course, this is going to be the most intricate part of the entire game. The counter step, of course, is going to be where all the cards that say counter in the left side of the card and or event cards that say counter in their activate effects. Of course, these are going to be where these skills come in effect. Most counter skills, of course, are going to be plus a couple thousand, plus 1, plus 2 are for the normal counter cards, and then most of the events are plus 3, plus 4, things like that. Then directly after the counter step comes the damage processing step. Of course, this is going to be where we're going to be checking the battle power in order to see who won the battle. Now, on the attacking side of the game, in order to deal a damage, you must be equal to or greater than the power of the card that you're attacking. One of two things can happen here. If you're attacking a leader card with some life left, if the attack goes through, of course, that life, or the top card of their life will go to their hand, and if they're at 0 life, you then will win the game. Moving on from that, if you're attacking into a character card and your power is equal to or greater than, the character card will then be placed into the trash area. And after damage processing, that's it. That's the end of the battle, and that's the whole concept of the game. Play as many characters as you can, attack as much as you can, and try to reduce your opponent's life to 0 and then hit him with a final blow. Now we know what the cards are, now we know how to set up a game, and we also know how to play out a turn. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about some of the skills that we're going to run into along the way, what they do, how to use them, and when to do so. And all these skills can be found in the glossary of the rulebook of the One Piece TCG, so I will leave a link in the description below for you guys just to go check out the rulebook in general. But with that being said, we're going to start off with On Play. This is an effect that is activated when a character from your hand is played into your character area. This is something that happens the moment it enters play. Moving on from that, we have Activate Main. This is an effect found on characters and or leader cards. It's an effect that can be activated during the main phase of your turn. And then anything that says your turn, this is an effect that's activated exclusively on your turn. We have end of your turn effects. These are effects that are activated at the end phase of your turn. So basically when you say pass turn, this would happen. And then moving on from that, we have the main effects. These are event cards that have Activate Main timing effects. And then from there we have counter. These are event cards that have effects that you can use during the counter step of attacks. And then moving on from that, we have the once per turn effects. This is an effect that can only be used as it states in the skill name, once per turn. Now moving into some of the more confusing skills of the game, we have Don X and Don Minus. Starting with Don X, this is an effect that is or can be activated when one or more Don cards are given to the character, and then the number of Don cards that must be given to the character depends on the number written in the effect. As you may see in most of the effects, it will be Don X1, Don X2, so on and so forth. This is just dictating how many Don you must have attached to the character in order to get the effect. Now moving into Don Minus, this is an effect that is activated by returning Don cards from your field, leader, character, or cost areas to your Don deck. The number of Don cards that must be returned depends on the number written in the effect. You can return any Don cards. These are Dons that are attached to any characters, leader cards, or if they're rested or active. As long as you return them from play to your Don deck, you can now activate this effect. Just like your Don X, the number in the skill will dictate exactly how many you got to play back to your Don deck. Now diving into the keyword skills of the One Piece TCG, starting off with Blocker. This is an effect that is activated during the block step. The card can take the place of a leader or character card being attacked by your opponent by switching said card to rest mode. Moving on from that, we have Rush. This is an effect that allows a character to attack on the turn it is played. In case you guys do not know or I forgot to explain earlier in the game, everything that you play in this game, unless it has Rush, does have Summoning Sickness. That includes your leader. That's why both players cannot attack with their leader card on their turn 1. So that is a really important keyword skill when it comes to more aggressive playstyles. Now moving on to Double Attack. Now this works just like Double Strike from DBSCG. This is when a character with this effect deals damage to an opponent's leader card. They deal 2 damage to their life pool instead of 1. Now we are moving on to Banish. This works a lot like Critical from Dragon Ball Super card game. This is when a character with this effect deals damage to your opponent's life. The life card itself is placed directly into the trash without its trigger effect being activated. And now we're moving into the final skill of the game, which is Triggers. These skills are very important and they happen during the damage processing step of battles. So when you're taking life after being dealt a damage in this game, you are to reveal or to peek at the top card of your life pool. If that card does not have a trigger, it is placed into your hand, unless of course you're getting hit with a banished attack, and then therefore that life will go to the trash. But most normal attacks, it would go to the hand. And if it does have a trigger, you therefore would read what the trigger does, activate it as says, and then go from there. So your triggers are always hit from life. You can never do a trigger off of another effect. So if you have an effect of your own and it says rip a life and you hit a trigger card from your life with a life rip effect, you cannot do it. Triggers are only used when you are dealt the damage from an opponent's attack. And with all that being said, we officially know how to play the One Piece trading card game. Now before I send us all off to go find the One Piece, I do have a few minor things that I wanted to talk about before doing so. Like what happens if you have some Don underneath one of your character cards and he gets KO'd? It's simple. All your Don just goes back to your cost area in rest mode. What happens if me and my opponent both have skills going off at the same time? Well, that's simple to understand as well. In this game, just like in the Dragon Ball Super card game, if you both have skills that are triggering at the same time, the turn player will proceed to use all of his skills first before going into the opponent's skills. And with all of that information out on the table now, we are officially ready to go play the One Piece TCG. Now, if this video helped you guys, I would really appreciate it if you guys smashed all those buttons for me. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, guys, I will always see you guys next time.